Boys and girls, this is Benjamin Boucher. Welcome back to another F123 ranked online video. Today's race is at Silverstone. This week's races are at Silverstone. Zandvoort, once again, for like the 6th time in the last month and a half or so. And Canada, but we only have one race for you today, as I'm still doing some unpacking and having to go back to the old place and clean it up, clean up the old apartment. So don't have too much time on my hands, but we did get one race in, and it was actually a pretty decent race. So as you can see, we are at Silverstone today, only managing to qualify P2, even though we were P1 for like sectors 2 and sectors 3, but we got pipped right at the end. And when the qualifying times come up, you'll actually see that the times were quite close. We were only a 10th off of pole. P3 was only a 10th off of us. We were only one of 2 Gold 2 division drivers in here, so qualifying P2 was actually pretty impressive for myself anyway. Probably not impressive for anybody else, but for me, I was happy with that. The setup is 24:16. I believe the majority time trial setup is 26:18, so we just went 2 clicks down on both wings. Starting on the softs, pole sitter on the mediums. We don't manage to get a decent launch here. Still have to work on my starts, my race starts, but we do well enough to maintain P2 here. And since the times were so close in qualifying, I knew that I had to watch out for these guys behind. Red proximity arrow sent me out wide because I wanted to leave space, but he wasn't there anyway. Pole sitter has a little bit of an issue there on that left-hander hitting the curb, so we managed to keep up. Still 86% battery because the times were so close. I didn't want to waste too much ERS on this first lap. I want to save it to actually fight. Again, pole sitter having some issues through these corners here on the mediums, so I was looking to try and get ahead because it looks like he doesn't have the grip down just yet on these mediums, and hopefully he can make some mistakes while the tires are still a little bit colder, and maybe we can get ahead. On a heavy fuel load with the setup that I have on, I wasn't too confident there. You can see a huge lift off, though I think you can usually take it flat out even with a high fuel load. And once again, through Maggots and Beckett's, P1 has some issues going off track a little bit there. So we get a run on him, just turn on the battery, and we are going to get ahead. Watching that red proximity arrow, he's fighting this, and he's still there. And we have to leave some space because we don't want to drive into him. But he ends up losing 2 positions. And then we go into the last few corners here and look at the rear view mirror. Oh man, he makes a very optimistic dive and spins himself out. Luckily for P2, he didn't take any, or he didn't get knocked off his line. So he's still behind us, about half a second behind us. And we have the 2 medium runners behind them. So lap 3 now, DRS is enabled. I did use a little bit of battery to try and extend, but once I realized we weren't extending far enough, because I think the driver behind was using a whole bunch of battery, I decided to stop using it and save up. So we got about 40% battery right now, and Plaxo 6 behind is a half second behind us, 6/10 now. Now the medium runners, I'm keeping an eye on them as well, as we are on lap 3, and they still haven't been dropped too far back, only about 1.5 seconds. So P2 tries to take a look to kind of unsettle us there on that left-hander, but we just keep our line and make it through okay. But he didn't lose out on that at all, as he's still behind us. But I have a feeling here that he's using a lot of battery to try and stay with us on the straights. And I'm not going to use any battery to defend right now. I'm just going to try and save up and try to extend from the medium runners there. We are gaining a little bit of time. As you can see now, we were at like 1.2 and 1.6, and now we are at 1.3, 1.4, and 1.8. So they are starting to fall back a little bit, but the soft tires aren't going to last. Now P2 decides to try to make a move, and I just let him go. No point in trying to defend. He's got battery, or DRS, and he's using his battery, so I'm just going to let him go there and fall in behind, see if he can drag us along. If he wants to be out ahead so much, I'll let him go and see if he's got the pace. And now the medium runners are almost within DRS to us. So lap 6 now, and roster 16 has caught up. He's only about 4/10 behind now, as well, as we've been able to maintain this gap to Plax out in front. So we were at pretty similar pace here, I believe, but I think his lights started flashing at some point, so I knew that I had much higher battery than he did. Again, I'm about to come into pit, so if roster 16 wants to try and make a move, I'm not going to fight too hard here. But since the tires are gone a little bit, I go in a little bit deep here for this left-hander. He gets alongside, and again, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to waste any battery. We'll save the battery for later on in the race, and not right now, because we're still within half a second to Plax. So it's not like we're going to be losing any time. And like I said, we're going to be coming in. Now Rosser decides to fight right away, and he starts flashing. So I know that I've got much better battery charge than these two guys in front of us. I was hoping that they would, Plax would at least go out for one more lap and follow the game intended strategy, as I changed mine. I think we were supposed to come in on lap 7 with the default strategy, but I changed it to lap 6, expecting something like this to happen where we'd be right behind these guys and maybe I can get an undercut. But right as we come in, Plax comes in as well, and he has the pit assist on as he just goes full speed on into there and gains a second. But it doesn't really matter anyway, as we're going to claw that time back. So I think we were faster than this guy, but he was spamming his battery so much that he just seemed like he was on par with us. So Plax and I come in to change onto the mediums. Rosser stays out for one more lap. He will be coming in to change onto the softs. And I want to use a little bit of battery here to see if we can get an undercut and try and close up this pit assist gap to Plax in front. He's got 2 seconds on us right now, so we're gonna try and claw back that time and see if we can get an undercut. Now on the mediums, it didn't feel too bad. I was expecting this car to be a little bit more floaty, since we are using 2 clicks slower both on the front and on the rear, and with the tires being a little bit cold, I thought that this outlap was going to be a little bit tough for us. But as you can see, the front tires are at 83 and 84 degrees, and it still felt okay. We were still able to take maggots and beckets the way we would on a set of softs, so it wasn't too bad. Battery charge is now at 50. We've closed that gap down to 1.6 seconds, so we gained 4/10 on this lap to Plax in P5. As you can see now, everybody else ahead has come into pit, and we're going to see what we achieved on this outlap here. 1.5 seconds to Plax now. So it looks like we are gaining time on him. And as we come around here, we got 2 purple dots coming out of the pit lane, and I'm trying to use a little bit of battery to make sure that we come out in front. But unfortunately, Roster 16 does come out right in front of us, so that's fine. The softs are going to be quicker anyway, even though they're a little bit colder. He did seem to have decent pace on the mediums on the first stint, so I figured catching up to Plax in P1 wasn't going to be too much of a problem. So Roster catches up, and now they are starting to fight for P1, and I'm just going to sit back and watch this. It looks like they were a little bit aggressive on lap number 6 when Roster caught up the first time. As you can see, they go wheel to wheel. I think they make some contact there, and then going into this long right-hand corner, Plax is flashing as well. I can't remember the names of the corners for the life of me for some reason when I'm doing these voiceovers, so I apologize. Plax loses out, and now he is at 8/10, 9/10 in front of us, so we should be able to get battery. Jumping to lap number 12 right now, Plax is still behind Roster in P1, but Roster's been blinking, his light's been flashing for the last 2 or 3 laps, so I know he's got to be close to 0% battery charge on every lap. So Ross 306 in P4 has fallen back now to 3 seconds behind, so I don't have to worry about that. And I think I have more battery than both of these guys in front of us. So we're going to see if we can sneak in a cheeky overtake on one of the DRS zones. I know Roster's been flashing for a long time now. He's close to 0. He's got to be close to 0. And I don't know where Plax is at. He was flashing earlier on in the race, but I don't know if he's been using battery to catch up. We are at 30%. And now the weaving and defensive driving starts. So Sector 1, we are under a second away from Roster in P1, but now I don't know if we're going to have enough straight line speed to overtake both guys. Maybe one guy on the final straight. And we might be able to get P2 here. I think the win is out of the books. Oh, off the books, I should say. So coming around Cops right now, we're still looking okay. Still a second to Roster 16, but I don't think it's going to be close enough to overtake both of these guys. We might be able to take one here. Baggets and Beckets, it's nice and tidy. We actually close up on Roster by about 1/10.5 or so. And then coming down the hanger straight here, both guys are flashing. I'm starting to flash right now. You see all this weaving going on, and they're side by side. Oh, Plax is going to try to hang it around the outside. Looks like the wheels get caught up. Oh, in contact. And I wanted to dive on the inside here, but I knew Rosser was going to come back in and dive. I want to get ahead of these guys. And luckily for us, right on the last corner, they take each other out, and I am able to sneak down the inside. Rosser 16 with a 3-second penalty. Plax 06 coming in P2, and a little bit of driving conservatively and just waiting for these guys to make mistakes gives us the win on the last lap there. Had to be super patient and pick my spot, because I knew that with the way Plax took him out there on that third to final corner, that Rosser was going to come back in and try to just wipe him out for the win. So I didn't want to dive in too early there and get taken out myself. So we just waited patiently until both of them were offline, or kind of fishtailing a little bit before we made the move, and we managed to come in and steal that win. So there you go, boys and girls. That is the first race of this week. Good enough for 90 points. If you think I've earned it, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Stay tuned for more. Remember to eat your bok choy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.